Jefferson County 911.
Yes, I am a teacher at Columbine High School. There is a student here with a gun. He has shot out a window. I believe one student.
It wasn't unusual to get a call about a possible shooting or gun at a school, but it became very clear very quickly that this was quite different from what we might get on a regular day. This was 1999. School shootings were not a thing.
In the window? 25 years ago, I flew out to Littleton, Colorado to cover the mass shooting at the Columbine High School there. At the time, I thought it was a once-in-a-lifetime event. That's why I went. But today, mass shootings are almost routine. And when I hear about them, I wonder how they affect the doctors who treat the victims. So I called some of them, and they told me about how it challenged them and changed them.
On the day of Sandy Hook, I was training with the FBI SWAT team. It was a typical December day in Connecticut. It was very cold and clear.
Around noontime was when all of the trauma leaders in the region received a notification that there had been an active shooter event at an elementary school.
I quickly realized, I got into those first couple of rooms, we saw all those children that had been killed. And I will tell you, I quickly realized that I was at something that I had never experienced. There was no way I could be prepared for. And I just kind of determined that I was going to get to work and we were going to get through this.
My role was to prepare our entire team, from the doctors to the nurses to the OR staff and the ICUs, to be ready to receive patients, to ensure that not only do we have the personnel, but we have the supplies to take care of the number of injured, and we wouldn't know how many, right? We just know that someone went into an elementary school and started shooting.
Patients just started coming in the back of police cars. So I think the first patient was a gunshot wound to the head, and then a gunshot wound to the chest, and then a gunshot wound to the abdomen, and on and on and on. And they just kept coming. We had no idea when it was going to end.
The first patient we got took over 2 hours from the elementary school itself. The longer the time passed from notification of the shooting to when we received the first patient, I think the team leaders, we all knew that we would not have many survivors.
It's hard to know how to feel after one of these events. I think you want to feel proud of the work you've done, but on the other hand, you also don't want to glamorize any part of it because it's an awful event.
I started having intrusive thoughts. Things would pop into my head and I would see my child's faces on some of the bodies that I had examined, right? I was seeing my children with some of these injuries, and they were fleeting, they would come and go, but it was happening. I was afraid that I might be broken because now all of a sudden I was having these intrusive thoughts, and I had unfortunately not been taught about how normal that can be.
If you are a surgeon mom, your kids stay up late. And so I got to hug them. And it was when I hugged them that I really felt tremendous guilt because I got to hug my kids. And I thought about all the parents who didn't in Uvalde that night.
I'd be driving to work and I would just cry because it was, an emotion would come up. And I think that's one of the major emotions after this event, is just the sadness for the lives changed. I don't think it's ever fully gone away. I still will cry when I think about it sometimes. And the anxiety will come back if I hear about a mass shooting. But I've learned to live with it.
Listening to these doctors, I began to notice a pattern in their experience. It begins with a tragedy, and then they go through incredible emotional distress for hours, days, months, sometimes longer. But then they settle into a new normal. They absorb the experience. So it doesn't define them, but it definitely shapes them forever.
It's changed me. It's hard for me to know exactly how. But I definitely think I'm stuck with it, and it's part of who I am now.
I am absolutely not the same. I am absolutely a different person than before I walked into that school. And things have normalized. And I still am a dad and a husband and a physician and doing all of these things that I had been doing before. In fact, to some degree, I might be better at doing them. We shouldn't misunderstand that just because things aren't the same doesn't mean they're not normal.
I've often said I don't want to be defined by Columbine by itself. I want to know that I've given in many different stages of my career, but it will always be a significant part of me, and it absolutely has shaped the career and the person, the physician I am today.